All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Pro Wrestling Quarterly. That time of year again, Royal Rumble, little less than a week away. But I'm BJ Lisko here with my cohort Cliff Hickman. Cliff, how you been?
Not too bad, BJ. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good. So yeah, this is my favorite of the four main pay-per-views that WWE puts on. Although I saw next year they pissed me off right at the get. They're doing it in Saudi Arabia next year, which means it's going to be on like 1 in the afternoon, which just completely ruins what I normally do for the Rumble, which is drink a whole lot and bet on who wins what. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I might be day drunk for that one.
I was shocked they elected to go to Saudi Arabia with that one. I know they're doing some international ones, but I guess the money being thrown around must be pretty significant.
Oh, I'm sure they're getting a ton of money for it. The other thing that WWE kind of drives me nuts with is like the idea that they're making everything two-day events now. And
I'm shocked the Royal Rumble isn't.
I'm kind of shocked it isn't too, and I hope it's not. You know what I mean? Like I hate the 2 nights. Like it's like, you know, I can commit to one night, but it's like, all right, how much wrestling do you expect me to watch? Like I like wrestling, but I mean,
I kind of understood it for like WrestleMania, where it had ballooned to 8, 9, 10 hours. You know, it was getting up there, so I kind of understood it once a year.
Yeah,
and even when New Japan does Wrestle Kingdom, it's 2 nights now. That made sense because it was the same thing, especially if you're watching it in the United States on January 4th. I remember staying up till, I don't know, it started at 2 a.m. and I'd be up till 8 and then try to drag myself to the office. It wasn't good. So I didn't mind that. But yeah, now it feels like, oh, there's significant money and we can sell 2 front row tickets now. Yeah. You know, that's what it feels like to me. Maybe I'm just being cynical. But.
No, it's definitely a money grab. And they know they can get it, especially.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff too. So, but I miss the days of, how about just make WrestleMania 3.5 hours. Just condense it to your best stuff and stick it on one night. But the cat's out of the bag. It's never going to go back to that now. You know what I mean? Unfortunately. But yeah, the 2-night pay-per-views, I'm not a big fan of, and hopefully they hold off with that on Royal Rumble. And them doing it in Saudi Arabia. I mean, unless they're gonna. I would assume that's going to be at like 1 in the afternoon because of the time difference, unless they do it in the middle of the night over there and keep it on Eastern time. I doubt that, but I could be wrong.
Are they doing the women's Royal Rumble over there? They got to do that a different night.
I mean,
they have all those crazy rules for the women when they're over there.
I assume that they are, but yeah, they're all the women are going to be in totally covered up and not wearing what they normally wear.
Exactly.
So yeah, a lot of high praise for WWE on a lot of what they've been doing recently, but that's the some of the pay-per-view decisions, not necessarily one of them. But yeah, but before we get into the Royal Rumble and kind of previewing what's going on there, we talked a little bit off air about this. WWE made the move to Netflix recently and stuff, and I caught the first episode of that, and I've seen clips. I've not watched the full episodes of the last couple that they've done, but I've just, like I said, I've caught bits and pieces. I mean, I like watching it in bits and pieces, but yeah, there's some definitely some drawn out intros and some I guess some you're talking about sort of too much kind of going on, or I guess. Not enough wrestling and too much, kind of everything else going on. That seems to be the case. Is that what you've kind of taken away from it?
That's been my feeling. I haven't been able to make it through an episode of it since it switched. I was enjoying the 2-hour episodes at the end on USA. It felt like they kind of forced them to get to the point and actually keep the show moving. They have this problem, and I think, and it might just be me, but I feel like this is why I don't watch the NFL either, where everything has to be built up to having the significance of Christ approaching Calvary,
Right.
I heard that intro on Netflix was just the most sanctimonious, preachy thing. You got some guy painting on a canvas while Triple H is reading some script for 10. I don't need that. Yeah. It kills the momentum. It kills everything for me. The random celebrities. I mean, I understood it in the 80s. I don't think celebrities mean what they used to. Yeah. I think there's been a significant downgrade. If you look at movies or anything, it's more the project they're attached to than the actor attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
You slap Spider-Man on a marquee, it's going to do big business no matter who fills that suit. They've kind of proven that. So to me, I'm just like the celebrities, the other nonsense that goes into it. It's like, I feel like they have such great in-ring performers. They could be like the Rolling Stones of wrestling. It feels like they'd rather be the Nickelback of variety shows, though.
That's a good analogy for it. I watched the first episode in full when Netflix went Raw. Yeah, and it was a big, just the sort of, I guess, sanctimonious, like you said, but where it's just so sort of overblown what they're kind of doing, and with that, they try to make it so, it's like
sitting there with that guy. It's always elbowing you, like, yeah, we're great, right? Wasn't that awesome? They don't let you enjoy it. They just have to keep elbowing you in the ribs, and
it's just that started to happen. When Vince was still there, it started to happen.
Oh, he was the worst at it.
And then, and then even with all the like the other thing with WWE, like all the biographies or whatever that they were doing on A&E and everything else too, and then they're doing like the life stories of wrestlers who have been around for like 5 years. Like, I don't need to see a career retrospective on Charlotte Flair. She hasn't been around long enough. Like,
exactly.
Why are we doing this? You know what I mean? Like, but they would do that, like, and then just constantly kind of going back to stuff that you and I have seen a zillion times, where they're going back to old feuds and all that stuff, and then as it was going on long enough with the separate shows on A&E. Like, you would just get the same footage and the same talking heads and the same stuff just repurposed and repackaged in a new thing, well, quote unquote new thing, where it's like, this is all the same shit that we've seen, 100 times before. So yeah, WWE does have a problem with sort of patting itself on the back.
Yeah, and I think there are interesting nuggets in there. I think one of the better ones was from the Vince McMahon documentary, where I think Tony Atlas kind of broke it a little bit, where he was like, there may have been jails with better behaved inmates than we were, and they were like, what? He was like, no, it was bad, man. The way we treated women, the way we did, terrible. Yeah. So, sometimes that'll crack, and I feel like they just desperately want this mainstream approval, and from a certain group of people, they're never going to get it. I don't care what you do. They're never going to view it as, all they do successfully. And I've seen it happen in other things like comic books or whatever. They get the celebrity to write this really bad book that no one reads, and what happens is you run off the people that are interested and annoy them, and then the people you're desperately wanting to watch this thing still don't care.
Yeah, I will say, so the one thing that WWE has done recently that I've really, really liked, and they've done 2 episodes of now, is Saturday Night's Main Event. And I don't know if you caught any of those. I love Jesse Ventura being back, just as a, I was a mark for him as a kid, and so it's a total nostalgic thing, and he's still playing it like Jesse Ventura of old. He's still saying like, which sometimes it's like, like he gets a pass on it, like, even though some of what he's saying might be kind of dated, or like it might be this is too like 80s sounding, but it's like, it's him, so it's like, yeah, he I love it, and he gets a pass. And what I do like about Saturday Night's Main Event is it eliminates the problem, like you said, of Raw with all the extraneous stuff. It's wrestling. It's like a premium live event kind of, where it's just match. There's a little promo, whatever. There's not this big drawn out introductions for everything, big drawn ever. It's just, hey, here's a great wrestling card, and we're gonna put it on NBC. So I've really liked Saturday Night's Main Event.
I love the first one. I'm going to watch the second one. I got distracted by Collision. They threw out the one thing that could distract me, and that was Katsuyori Shibata against Konosuke Takeshita for the international title in the main event, and it was absolutely incredible. I don't regret the decision, but that was probably the one match, something of that ilk, where I'm like, oh boy, those guys are really going to hammer each other, and they did. It was a great match, but I am going to catch Main Event. I do like that for the reasons you said. It's more a wrestling show. Jesse Ventura obviously is like the soundtrack to your childhood, like you're saying. You almost wish Gorilla Monsoon was still alive.
Oh, for
because
sure.
that was it. That was like the A team. I love those guys.
Yeah.
The way they would go back and forth.
They were, yeah, and Jesse and Gorilla were probably my favorite commentary team of all time, followed up by Heenan and Gorilla, you know what I mean? And then even Jesse and Vince were really, really good too. Like all those were sort of interchangeable.
There's some really great, I know Vince McMahon's canceled and whatever, and for good reason. There's some really great matches where Jesse Ventura got to him and got him to kind of break character a little. There's a famous one with Coco Beware, and I forget, it was just another random guy on one of those Superstars episodes, and they're in there ripping. They had a heavier set referee that couldn't get down to make the count. And Jesse Ventura actually got Vince McMahon's like, oh, this guy's kind of an embarrassment, pal. He can't even get down to, they basically had given up on the match and were just every little thing. They were ripping back and forth. It was pretty funny.
Nice. Yeah, no, like you said, I'm glad to see Jesse Ventura back. That's really cool. We're gonna talk about AEW in a minute, but kind of going off of that too. So, Hulk Hogan, man, what a mess this guy's been recently and stuff too. He got booed out of the building on the Netflix, which I thought was hilarious. I laughed.
Yeah, it's well deserved at this point.
For sure. Well, but he. He was advertised to be on the last Saturday night's main event, then canceled, saying he has family commitments, which happened to be his son's wedding. So you mean to tell me that he didn't know his son's wedding was happening on the same day, or he wasn't invited to his son's wedding until last minute, or like just everything surrounding that just seems like so suspect and weird, and only
Well, not to mention the thing with Ventura he has, where Ventura wanted to start the wrestling union, and Hogan's the one that went to Vince, and that whole story where I don't think Jesse Ventura likes him too well. Maybe he doesn't. He realized at the last second, oh, I'm going to have to face him. No, there's something else going on today,
Yeah, but his son legitimately did get married. So it's like, how would you, literally, your son's getting married. How do you not know that's the same day as Saturday night's main event?
That's a great point.
And it's just bizarre. Like, I mean, all this stuff with Hogan, I mean, I've heard his daughter doesn't talk to him anymore. Just sort of the strange decisions of Hulk Hogan, and it's weird because Hulk Hogan, obviously this larger than life dude, an icon of professional wrestling and stuff. But then you start to hear about what he was like even back then. It's like this guy's kind of always been a prick. You know what I mean? He's just always been out for himself and has always kind of put himself over. And you know what I mean? I respect that to a degree. In the 80s, you kind of had to do that in certain instances. But then you just find out about what he's really sort of all about. And it's like, man, and that's why he gets booed out of the building, is everybody's kind of caught on to this now. And, he was out there trying to shill his new beer, and it's like, dude, nobody cares, man.
It's rough because, like you said, there was no one bigger to me growing up in the 80s. You had the cartoon. I had Hulk Hogan action figures. That was one of the few shirts you could find. I had the Hulk Hogan shirt. I loved Hulk Hogan. And then just the more you find out, especially, like you said, the documentaries that come out now, especially in WCW, some of the stuff he did there just absolutely helped tank that company. It certainly, I'm not going to blame him for it because there was a multitude of things when you watch everything, but he certainly didn't help. The botched Starrcade 97 finish where it's just time for him to lose, and he doesn't want to lose to Sting all of a sudden day of.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. He's looking kind of out of shape. I'm like, are you kidding me, man?
Yeah,
just take the loss. You've been building it up for a year to take this loss. Take the loss. That's all you got to do.
He did, yeah. Just so many questionable things kind of out throughout the years. You know what I mean? And then, I mean, and every couple years, it seems like too. Now he's born again or whatever, and it's like it just becomes this.
And then he got involved in politics, which is just I don't like that on either side. It just because then it becomes that's the focus, whether they're a Republican, whether they're a Democrat. Because it brings a certain very loud minority from either side in that's just there with torches and pitchforks.
Right.
Now with Hogan, there's other stuff. There's the racism tapes. There's the sex tape with a friend's wife or something. And I try to avoid this stuff, but you still hear about it, whether you want to or not. And you take all of it together and you're like, man, this is brutal. This is like, don't meet your heroes. His image right there, right under, or hear about him, you know? Yeah. I'd rather not know than know all this stuff, you know, where it's like, this is brutal.
Yeah, he's the perfect example of that. You're right. Yeah, as far as don't meet your heroes with Hulk Hogan, just because, yeah, you kind of find out who the guy really is, and it's... yeah, it's disappointing. Yeah, and like I said, when anybody like that gets involved in politics, whether it's a professional wrestler or an athlete or an actor,
yeah,
I don't care, man. You know what I mean?
I mean, they're free to say it. I'm not going to be one of these guys. Oh, just shut up and dribble. You can do it. I'm just telling you, I don't care, and I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to mean tweet about it or anything, but the remote goes to a different channel. It's that simple.
Oh, 100%. Well, you mentioned watching AEW Collision this past week. What have been your impressions of AEW here recently for the last couple months since we spoke? I mean, I know they're still they got the Max deal and everything else like that too. I know in certain areas it seems like they're struggling in certain areas, but they're doing. Some people are doing some good things, kind of in others. But what's your kind of takeaway with where AEW's at right now?
There's good and there's bad. Unfortunately, the bad, I think, is hovering around the main event area where you would like it to be good. But I think the move to smaller venues is helping them a lot. They're more unique looking on TV. The crowd is way more into it. I think that part's been really good. They're finally getting some guys healthy. Kenny Omega being back is huge. He's had some of probably the best segments on the show this year have involved him, and they've been the early parts of the show. But the specter of the Death Riders kind of looms over everything, and I know it was kind of gnawing at me, but I usually look at my wife, who only started watching a couple years ago because I watched it, and when I see it kind of getting to her, like, why are these guys leaving everyone laying every show? And it just... I can tell they need to get out of this thing, like, sooner than later. They need to. John Moxley's a legend. I'm not taking anything away from him, but everyone has a time where it's just kind of, he needs a reinvention or a break or something. This just isn't working.
Yeah, I mean, how do they pivot out of this? I mean, they went so hard on this Death Riders thing, and it. It's not working for me at all either. You know, to quote Hulk Hogan, it's not working for me, brother. But it was so over the top, sort of off the rails from a storyline angle from the beginning, where like they kept like. They keep trying to poison Orange Cassidy to death for some reason. It's like, why do you keep trying to feed this guy bleach or clean it? Like, come on, man. Like, so like, and that's just odd and weird. Yeah, they're leaving everybody kind of laying. The crowd, there's no reaction. They're just like, please get them, like, please stop this and get this off the, get this off of our off the TV, or get this, out of the ring. I don't know how they pivot out of this
quickly.
Knowing AEW, though, I mean, AEW could just drop it. I mean, there are other angles they've just literally dropped with no explanation at all too. Within this own thing, I mean, the whole Blackpool Combat Club thing just stopped with no real explanation to it. I mean, the remnants of it are still in this group, but it's just, the sooner they pivot out of this, the better.
And my fear is, because I guess Darby Allin was the plan. Well, Darby Allin has decided he wants to climb Mount Everest, and that's going to take a few months. And my thing, I always go back to what Cody Rhodes said last year. Someone asked him about him, and he said he has everything he needs to be the top guy in AEW for a long time. He's like, he cannot keep taking buses to the face and things like that out in public and doing things that he's like, you have to be reliable. And if I'm Tony Khan, I'm saying, look, if you're going to scale Everest, that's fine.
Yeah.
This has got to happen, though. So you're giving up this opportunity. Then The thing is, they have no shortage of guys that are capable of stepping into that spot. Jay White is tremendous and ready. He can be, if you want a heel champion, you can turn him easily the next week by having him have an epic match and kick the guy in the groin and do a Blade Runner. That's simple. Bullet Club Gold would probably fill right into that slot and be way less obnoxious.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And yeah, you're right with Darby Allin with his...
I love Darby, but man, I'm not waiting another 4 months to end the Death Riders thing until that stadium show, or you're not going to have many people in that stadium.
Right, exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah, I love Darby and stuff too. I wished he would. I don't. Some of the stuff that he does, bump wise, and then just the random stuff out of the ring that he does too. Like you said, you're gonna go climb. You're gonna go climb a mountain. Like, all right, like. Yeah, I don't. If I was Tony Khan, I'd be like, dude, why am I? This is what I'm paying you for. Like, you need to be liable to this. You know what I mean? I'd be
and it's not like there aren't guys ready behind him. Will Hobbs, you could turn to Will Hobbs. In fact, I was kind of hoping he was going to win that in Cincinnati. I was kind of disappointed he didn't.
They killed him.
I know.
You choke out Will Hobbs in the middle of the ring, like
then they stomp on his leg and he.
That was just like, come on, like poor Will Hobbs. Like that's another guy that the fans love, that have wanted to really get behind and really root for, and they just keep false starting that guy. Why did you beat him clean in the middle of the ring like that and getting choked out in the middle of the ring? It just, like, you could have had it where, I mean, they could have set it up where, there was interference and this happened, but the way that they did it, it was just, it was just more puzzling booking decisions from Tony Khan.
And like you said, even if you want to go down the card, if you must have a heel, you want to go into a stadium, you got Don Callis absolutely doing tremendous work as a manager. Probably, I would argue, the best manager in any major company right now. Takeshita having incredible matches. You could easily give him the second world title out of nowhere. I don't know how you get to that point, but you certainly could. There's all sort. Kenny Omega's back. You could pivot to him quick and have him lose it to Takeshita. Will Ospreay, same thing. Swerve is still around and doing good things. I think Ricochet's been wildly entertaining as this new annoying heel character with the Pillsbury Doughboy laugh. I really enjoy the whole new thing. So, I mean, there's so many talented guys, and it's not like there's nobody there ready to step up and, it's like, it's not like, well, this is all we got. It's like, no, it's not, because those other guys I mentioned are doing stuff earlier in the show and getting really good reactions.
One other person I want to give props to in AEW, who I've enjoyed everything she's done for pretty much her whole run, but it's specifically the last a year or two. Toni Storm is just killing it.
She may be the most entertaining woman in either company.
Oh, she's so good. Like, and what I mean? Like, and I people are like, oh, I don't understand or whatever. I'm like, no, it's just, but like, she's so good at that character and doing that, and then the way she pivoted back and forth between, like, oh, I'm a rookie with amnesia, but like, just the whole. She's just so damn good at it. You know what I mean? And her in-ring work is good too. So it's like, Toni Storm's great. I got to think that she's going to end up, back holding gold here sooner than later.
Yeah, what's going on in Australia? Because you think of all the great women's wrestlers specifically. Harley Cameron's another one she's not winning much, which I think is a mistake. I think they need to capitalize on that. But she's really entertaining. I really find her funny when she's doing her interviews and things like that. And then you have Rhea Ripley, of course, in WWE. Yeah. So something in Australia is happening where they've produced three of the most entertaining women in the world here, professional wrestling-wise.
Yeah, no, Harley Cameron will be at Toy Hio, which is the toy show in Girard that our other host down here, Rick from Monsters in the Toy Box, puts on
Oh, really?
3 times a year, but she's one of the guests. Yeah, Harley Cameron's one of the guests. She'll be there with Julia Hart, Luchasaurus, and Danhausen are all part of that next toy show. I believe it's. I'll flash the date on here when we edit this.
I might be heading out to that. Those are, Luchasaurus had almost had his career ended.
Yeah,
he got double pneumonia. I had pneumonia, and it was horrible. He had like double pneumonia. I can't imagine being an athlete and getting hit with something like that. It was awful.
Right.
Just for me. As a regular guy, I'm like, oh my God, this has to be terrible for this guy.
Yeah, no. So I mean, he's appears to be doing better, obviously, and he'll be in town here next month. But yeah, other stuff kind of going on with AEW that I've caught. I know they're building an MJF Jeff Jarrett feud, which I don't know if you caught any of that promo back and forth where it was like every time you kept thinking it was done and they just kept going and going. They probably took it too long and went too far with a lot of this stuff because it kind of got to be a little bit cringy.
It got to be, yeah, they took it back to the Attitude Era with some of their comments toward each other for sure. And yeah, usually you don't see guys get down to that level with MJF, but Jeff Jarrett will go there.
And I'm not opposed at all to those two, the matches and stuff too. It's just I wish that with Jeff Jarrett, I wouldn't mind seeing him have like kind of a last sort of run, sort of build up. But I mean, if you're putting him against MJF, like I don't think anybody thinks he's going to beat MJF at anything meaningful or anything like that.
Or teasing the world title. I don't know that he gets by Claudio this week. That's the setup. I think there was other ways to maybe, if this is it for him, to kind of do something with him. But I like you said, I don't know that these are exactly winnable positions to be in. Right. No, I'm with you on that. Like I said, look, I like Jeff Jarrett. I like MGF. So I'm sure they'll have an entertaining match. You know what I mean? Even without all the extra flips and whatever else too, those two will they'll have an entertaining a match when they do square off. I'm sort of against when you so obviously know what the outcome is going to be. You know what I mean? And I'm with you.
AEW tends to do that a lot, where so you kind of know and can predict. There's not a whole lot of like, oh, who's legitimately going to win this happening in AEW. It just doesn't. I wish that they could book more where you really didn't know, where there was more of a chance of an underneath guy taking away, beating somebody, or more chances of, I guess, more chances of a different outcome than what we're so used to seeing.
Yeah, and sometimes you're more surprised at the speed things happen. Like Private Party losing the tag team titles so quick. I get it wasn't a shock because you look at that on paper, you're like, the Hurt Syndicate, they should run right through Private Party on paper, and then they did. But I was like, man, that was like a 2-week build for a team you'd put significant resources into building up to just wipe them off the face of the planet pretty convincingly. Yeah, it's a little rough.
I was surprised that it happened that fast as well.
Not to take anything away from the Hurt Syndicate, the crowd loves them. I love them. Shelton Benjamin looks completely rejuvenated, like he's just cutting loose.
And that's one, and we always... anybody that's watched this before knows I'm a huge mark for FTR, so I'm always looking at like, okay, who can FTR face that is going to be amazing, and that would be there it is right there. Hurt Syndicate, FTR. Let's get a 3-match. You know what I mean? Let's spend the next year with this with that. You know what I mean? I'll be completely content, and I'll tune in every time those guys are on a show if you do that. So I hope that's the case. I hope that's where they kind of go to, because FTR's been kind of just on the periphery of stuff. You know what I mean? They did the hometown show where they're benefiting, benefiting their hometown, which got wiped out by all the floods and stuff from hurricane remnants and stuff too. So I mean, I understand kind of why they were holding off a little bit or whatever too, and they've been bouncing around a little bit with Moxley and all that. But yeah, I would love to have them pivot off of that. Just get out of that immediately, and let's go back to good tag team wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, one of the bigger what ifs, the Young Bucks. I don't know if you saw the interview. One of their plans to drop the titles, I guess they were pushing to do it sooner than they did against Private Party, is their idea was they wanted to be like squashed by the Outrunners out of nowhere. They wanted to lose it to him in a couple minutes and just, get out of it for the year, which would have been hilarious. I would have went big for that.
I mean, I would have went big for that just because I'm not a Young Bucks fan and I like the Outrunners more. But I don't know. Like the Young Bucks, they stayed heel way too long. Like I think the Young Bucks work as baby faces. I think I've said this before. I just never bought those guys as heels. They
said, at least in their interview, that whatever happened this summer with that went way longer than it was supposed to, or they told it was going to go. So they were looking, I think they were aware and were looking for a way out of it sooner than they did.
Yeah, I mean, I got to think they're going to be back at some point here pretty soon, and hopefully it comes back as a babyface run, because like I said, and the same thing. I said this about Kenny Omega in the past either. I didn't think he was a believable heel, just because he's not.
He's not wired that way.
He's not wired that way, so you can't, like, you know what I mean. Like it's not like when guys that just can't naturally do that. Like it sounds like they're playing pretend to be a bad. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to know that you're playing pretend being a bad guy, because you're really not that person. And you can kind of, like I said, with those three. When they're trying to be heels, it just doesn't work. At least from my personal opinion, anyway.
Yeah, it's in certain way. I guess I think as the leader of the Bullet Club, it was just how he was presented as a heel in AEW was very differently than when he was the head of the Bullet Club. There was a lot more sinister stuff he did, whereas everything was kind of a joke, Oh, I built an exploding barbed wire match that didn't explode, or, what's the capital of time? He's doing the bad jokes and those sort of things. Whereas in Japan, he's executing AJ Styles and kicking him out, and executing Adam Cole and kicking him out from afar. It was a little more sinister, and there was a little more, well, it's kind of funny, but they also just executed this guy in the middle of the ring, and we've never seen him again. Right. So there was a little more weight to, and that might just be a presentation thing. I don't know. I've seen him do effective stuff, but you're right, and the AEW championship run probably wasn't the greatest as the heel for Kenny, which is unfortunate because I'm a huge fan and I think he's fantastic. And I think the way he's being presented now is the way to go forward with him. I think him and Ospreay are shaping up to be, it's going to be really fun, whatever they do with these guys.
No, 100%. And I mean, well, Kenny, the crowd obviously wants to cheer him and stuff too. So yeah, that's one way to get that belt off of Moxley. I don't think any AEW fan is going to be sad if Kenny Omega, if there was an Omega Moxley program and Omega comes out on top of that. You know what I mean? That's one way to get.
Or Ospreay. Those two are just. They do things you can only dream. I hurt watching some of their stuff. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know that I've seen anyone like either one of them.
We'll get into, so this week we got the Royal Rumble. It's Saturday night in Indianapolis. Now there's only a few matches obviously on the card because you have the men's and women's Royal Rumble match. Now we have. So we'll start with the men here. So 10 of the 30 entrants have been announced for the men's Royal Rumble match. They are so far LA Knight, John Cena, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, Sami Zayn, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Now Royal Rumble obviously has a lot of surprise entrants and things of that nature. I could see them going a number of ways with and a lot of ways making sense with whoever ends up winning.
A lot of them scare me, but go ahead.
But I mean, I could see them. I could see them having Cena win. I could see them having Punk win. Obviously,
those
Reigns,
are the two
Rollins,
scenarios I fear. I don't want that in 2025. No.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, but I could see them doing a lot of different things here. But yeah, I mean, who would you have win the Royal Rumble if
out of the 10 guys listed? LA Knight.
I mean, I would love to see LA Knight win it.
Put him against Gunther, move him.
Yeah,
have him win. He's still getting huge reactions.
Yeah, LA Knight is one I don't think they've capitalized enough on. How
I
over he
agree.
is.
I think he needs. That's why I bump it. Give him that bump.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't think they're going to do that.
No, I don't.
Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to do that. I think, like you said, I think it's probably, if I had to bet on this, or pick somebody, I'm gonna say it's gonna be CM Punk that's gonna end up winning this.
Probably.
But I don't know. There's other ways too. Like, I thought the CM Punk Seth Rollins feud, and they had that match at the Raw debut on Netflix. That seemed to kind of end too fast. Like, I don't think they're done with that yet. I think that I could see them pivoting back to that for WrestleMania. So, I'll
be 100% honest. I will be watching no CM Punk in 2025.
No,
no, I'm just not interested. I don't want to keep bagging on the guy, but you talk about non-believable. I watched him get choked out by a 19-year-old. Then I watched a guy that ran a website with an 0-2 professional fighting record step into the octagon in what is considered the worst fight in UFC history, and basically looked like Muhammad Ali. Kept punching him in the face unabated, could have finished him at any point, doing the Ali shuffle, clowning him in every way. And CM Punk just looked lost. And that's where everyone always likes to throw out, oh, these guys look like they're playing. They look like pretend. We've seen him actually fight. Mm-hmm. There's a reason he was swinging on Jack Perry first and asking questions later, because the other guy gets footing going. We've seen what happens, and it ain't good.
I don't have the... I wasn't watching CM Punk during that whole first run.
Oh, thank God. He ran me off. I couldn't take it. It was... I don't like his style. It's nothing personal. His matches, I don't like watching them. Yeah, he looks very slow to me. He's always looked slow, and I don't know. I just don't buy him.
He's always been more about the promo, I think.
I call it the arthritic knee in the corner, that slow knee lift into a bulldog. I just want to puke every time I see it. I hated it for 15 years.
Yeah, he's not the fastest guy in the ring. But yeah, I didn't. Again, the reason I still kind of like CM Punk is just because I wasn't watching during that whole first period, so I didn't get. I might think differently had I been.
If him and Jeff Hardy didn't kill your oh, sorry, I keep interrupting, but if him and Jeff Hardy didn't kill you, I mean.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't watching them then, so. So when he came back, I was like, okay, let's, that was sort of my first taste. I was like, yeah, I mean, he's a great promo, but yeah, like you said, in the ring, it's not the most impressive thing in the ring. He's not the fastest guy, but I do think that he's got to be the kind of favorite out of who's there. Are there any surprise entrants you can think of that might have a shot at either winning or even just, are there any ones that kind of come off right off the top of your head?
Malachi Black will probably be there, or Aleister Black, whatever he calls himself. If he's contractually free, he'll be in there. I don't know that he wins it. Yeah,
I don't know that he wins it, but I all signs are. He actually just filmed a movie up the road here, at the Royal Oaks, where he plays a bounce. He plays it's like a horror movie, but he plays a bouncer at the dive bar or whatever else. So, I could see him. I don't. Nobody else is like really kind of coming to mind initially as far as guys that might be surprises for this. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I always like when they have surprises in the Royal Rumbles, but I don't know. I don't know who else is out there that is going to move the needle a bunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've kind of gone away from that in recent years. It used to be there'd be 3 or 4 guys that were either not with the company or retired or something like that. I tell you, something you could watch is the Impact relationship. Maybe you get Nick Nemeth or Moose or Joe Hendry or one of their top guys in there. I could see that.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of those guys now that they're combined in the Rumble, and certainly in the Women's Rumble. You're going to see a bunch of a bunch of the female talent. So speaking of the Women's Royal Rumble, so there's only 7 announced as of today. They're Nia Jax, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez. Out of that list, Charlotte's won this thing a couple times, hasn't she?
She has.
I don't know that you have her win it again, but I don't know who. I'm not so sure who. So Rhea Ripley is teased being in both of the Rumbles. Who would you say is your favorite to win the Women's Rumble?
Just looking at it, I mean, Bianca Belair is such an incredible talent, and she spent the last year in a tag team, basically. But I think it's time to get her back into the single stuff. I'd go with her. She could probably be babyface or heel. She could face anyone. Yeah,
I mean, well, you figure the winner of this is going to end up taking on Rhea Ripley, right? For the most part, who's the other champ? The other women's champ. There's two of them, aren't there? There's a SmackDown
there is a SmackDown champion, and now you have Intercontinental champions, and that's where it's Tiffany Stratton.
Okay,
I could see them putting her against Tiffany Stratton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so of this list, if I had to pick, I mean, you just took the belt off Liv Morgan, so it's probably not going to be her. Did Bayley win it last year?
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't think you're going to have Bayley win it again. So, of who's there right now, yeah, Charlotte or Bianca, I think is what you're going to sort of look at.
I know, like, Io Sky is always, she's not announced, but she always gets a huge reaction. That's someone you could easily put in there, too.
The Women's Rumble, at least in recent years, has had more quote-unquote surprise guests, whatever. And like you said, I think you're going to see people from the TNA Impact roster. You'll see some of the, whether a Mickie James or some of the old, quote-unquote divas, whatever, from that era. There's usually always a couple of them.
I think Jordynne Grace is moving full-time to WWE. I wouldn't be shocked if she could win it. Not only could she debut, she could win it.
Right, and then, well, you got to figure, who's coming back? She was in AEW. Jade Cargill.
Yes. If she's available, I'd imagine she'd be in that.
Yeah, I think that from what I remember, what I recall, because her injury, I think sort of the injury timeline they gave her would put her back right about this time. So I could see her being
She was tweeting last week. I think they said, I don't know, they're doing the mystery attacker thing. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Bianca Belair and they turn them on each other or something. That seems like something they would do.
Yeah, no. So yeah, you gotta keep an eye on Jade Cargill there too. So as far as straight up matches, so there's only a couple here besides the Rumbles. The first one is for the WWE Tag Team Championship, a 2 out of 3 falls match. It's between DIY, which is Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, against the Motor City Machine Guns. This will be a great match, I think, and especially best 2 out of 3. Any ideas? Do you think they make the switch and Motor City Machine Guns win this?
They could. I could see this one going either way. They either implode DIY for about the 90th time,
yeah, right,
or they cheat and win somehow at the end of it. It'll be a great match regardless. I like all 4 guys.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I was thinking the other day too, as far as like the tag team division in WWE. And there kind of hasn't been one. I mean, it's there, but they're kind of like there's not a lot of tag teams. You know what I mean? Like when you start thinking like, all right, what are the tag teams in WWE? You're like, I can't really think of any outside the few that that you see sort of week in, week out. I kind of wish that would change. I wish they would expand that a little bit more and get it back to sort of what the tag team division used to be, where it meant a lot more. You know what I mean? That Vince McMahon didn't like tag team wrestling really, and so that kind of went away during his whole run, and everything just went about as singles. But I hope WWE makes a pivot to more tag teams and more tag team wrestling in the future.
Sure, yeah. That's why I think like Finn Balor and McDonough had the Raw titles for so long. People just kind of forgot that they had them. I think they dropped them recently, but that was a problem on the other show too, where they just didn't have any teams to challenge them. Well, then you have I mean, there are WWE's on a hot streak. There's no question. They're doing a lot of things right, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. The Street Profits are sitting there going, probably, what did we do to somebody? You know, they're super talented. You know, the LWO guys, the Legado del Fantasma, you got Garza and his partner. Those guys are great. I mean, they just don't use them.
Yeah, just tag teams is just, again, it's been such an afterthought in WWE for so long. Yeah, hopefully they switch that and make that a little bit more prominent. AEW had a nice little run for a while, depending on who's kind of there. But it's sort of kind of gone away in AEW, and they've kind of diluted it too with all the extra belts and the trios and everything else, where it's like, okay, there's too many belts going on here, so it sort of kind of takes the shine off of some of the ones that were sort of considered more important to begin with, you know?
Well, yeah, I think both companies, I think someone added them up. They have about the same, but you're right. It does make things a little tougher. I think AEW probably starting to get into a better position. It looks like Buddy Matthews and Brody King are now the Hounds of Hell. They're going to be a consistent team. Speaking of people that could challenge the Hurt Syndicate and not look overmatched, they may have a size advantage there. So that would be a good one, or a good one for FTR. But there's certainly, you know, then there's up and coming teams. So they're in a little better position than WWE with tag teams. And like you said, though, that's been a thing historically. WWE's kind of shrugged their shoulders at.
Right. No, 100%. So
NXT has their best team, Frazier and Axiom. Those guys are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
They're wrestling, I think, for the Impact titles. They may win them both. That may be their best overall team, and they're not even on the main roster.
Right. I gotcha. Let's get back to the Royal Rumble. So what I think is going to be... I guess the main event, or just the main singles match on here, is a ladder match for the undisputed WWE Championship between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. I've liked this feud. I like this build. I think this match is going to be great. I love that Kevin Owens is doing the throwback shirts and stuff. He had the Cody sucks eggs on one the other night. I love how he's really trolling Cody Rhodes. I'm looking forward to this. It would be cool if Kevin Owens could finally legit get a belt or get a title, because we talked about this last time, where it's like he's always the guy there and they never seem to switch it on to him. It would be cool if they did it here. I don't know if they're gonna, but what are your thoughts on this match?
Just historically, probably not. Just because when they say Cody Rhodes' merchandise numbers are tracking above John Cena, and you see how hard it is for any company to get a babyface into that spot where people believe in them and they're making money and they're selling tickets to that degree. I love Kevin Owens. I don't think I could do it, though, for that reason, though. It's just so hard to build someone like that can move merchandise that you can put things on and just... When you're talking, I mean, John Cena was like the gold standard for moving stuff. And when they say he's tracking above that last year, I'm like, I'm not beating him anytime soon. Right. I know that gets annoying because in Cena's heyday, people were always like, Wade Barrett or whatever. There was always someone there. But I understand why they didn't. And for the same reason, I probably wouldn't. That's not to say you never beat Cody Rhodes, but it hasn't been a year yet. And I mean, Roman Reigns had it for 3 or 4 before they pivoted off that. I don't know that I would keep it on Cody that long, but
right. What I did like about circling back to Saturday night's main event, was Jesse Ventura that first time being so adamant that when Kevin Owens got the 3 and didn't, and he didn't get the win, you know what I mean? So which was, I thought was a cool wrinkle to have. You're giving Ventura something legitimate to complain about and stuff. You're giving the heel something legitimate to complain about, which has been kind of cool. And that's again a reason to have Kevin Owens so pissed off at Cody. So I think this is going to be a great match. It would be kind of cool to see Kevin Owens, even if he just got briefly and they flipped it back. But like you said, I don't think that they're going to.
I love Kevin Owens. He's one of my favorite. I wish they had just a Kevin Owens. Speaking of things you would want, that are kind of entertainment value. How about a Kevin Owens cam where we see all the stuff he says to people just on his random walk to the ring and back? You know, like a mic'd up thing. That's the one guy I would love mic'd up because he seems to mess with everyone and enjoys it.
He was phenomenal on every house show I ever saw him on. I think I saw him once or twice in Canton, at least a couple times down here at the Cavelli Center. He was great at, and they caught him on camera the other day doing it where he, I think somebody said, Kevin, you suck. And he said, not as much as your mother, which is great. But he did a lot of that. Every time I saw him, like, would jaw with the crowd and stuff, and it was just so great. It was hilarious because, and the fans caught on to it, like they knew, like if they yelled it, he was going to yell back and stuff. And more of that. I love that. That's so old school, and it's just I love seeing that. But yeah, super entertaining.
One of my favorites, I think someone called him a slob once. He's like, hey, I got to wear these gym shorts so I can fit all the money from my merch into them. And he's like pulling his pockets out. He's like, I need loose fitting stuff to carry all the cash out of here from you guys. It's pretty good stuff. I always, like I said, I would love a KO, Cam, and mic'd up segment. That's something I would watch.
Yeah, I mean, on Netflix now, too. Yeah, you can get away with it. You know, you can say whatever. There's no, there's quote unquote, no sort of, censorship or whatever with it being on Netflix. So yeah, that would be very cool. Well, but Cliff, is there anything else that we haven't sort of touched on? I'm trying to think of anybody else that could be a possible surprise entrance. Would you do you think Brock Lesnar's ever coming back to wrestling? I mean, do you think eventually he's going to make his way back, or is that ship sailed? Is he too connected to the Vince thing?
I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I also wouldn't be holding shows in Saudi Arabia. So
right,
there's a different standard with them. They mentioned him. They mention him every so often. So apparently they're not afraid to mention him. Like with that company, that would not shock me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see him. I mean, unless there's like some real big sort of concrete evidence against him or whatever else, you know what I mean? That comes out of the whole Vince McMahon saga and everything else too. I could see him coming back. He might just be waiting for stuff to kind of blow over, and then here he is. I don't know that he does it at a surprise entrance for the Rumble. It makes sense, but I think if they bring him back, it's going to be more of a WrestleMania kind of moment thing.
The only way I think they bring him back, you could have him win because him versus Gunther, that I might be into that.
Yeah.
I love Gunther. Just I don't know. I have mixed feelings on that because some of that stuff in the lawsuit's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But there is a part of me that in my brain sees that match and I'm like, ooh, that's entertaining. But I also feel,
Yeah, I think you got to wait and see what all comes out of that trial. Yeah, but speaking of Vince McMahon and all that too, like one of this, I can't remember which suit went away. That I'm sure he just paid to make go away, whatever. But it feels like the other one is trending in that direction too. Like it just eventually, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the whole Janelle Grant thing, and if he's going to see any kind of significant punishment, or if he's just going to throw a shit ton of money at it, like he's done with pretty much every other court case that's ever been against them, and then that just kind of goes away, And
God bless America, you got money, you can get away with some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. If Vince McMahon was just a regular, regular schmuck like the rest of us, he'd be freaking jail already. He'd be gone, whatever. But yeah, when you're worth hundreds of millions, if not.
They had that text message thread on you and me, we'd be in solitary in a hole somewhere.
100%. But yeah, so I don't know what's sort of gonna come of that. But yeah, any other thoughts here before we get out of here, Cliff, as far as the Royal Rumble or anything else that you might be excited about coming down the pike here in the next year in the world of professional wrestling?
Oh, it's just a great time. All the companies are doing well, despite me sounding. I always worry about sounding too negative. You don't want to drift into those grifter channel territories.
Yeah, right.
Which is why I had to be careful with CM Punk. I don't like him, but I don't want to say anything bad about people that like him, his fans. Even him. It's not like I don't want him to be able to work and make money or anything like that. not personal. I just don't want to watch it. So, you know what I mean? So I guess I'll clarify that. I don't want to be so overwhelmingly negative that you don't want to come off as some weird, that bothers me. There's so much negativity out there, but there's so much good stuff on both shows. Yes, there's problems here and there, but all of them have really entertaining aspects that you can really latch onto and have a good time.
Yeah, it's easy to get into, like, like John Moxley as a wrestler performer. I've not been a fan of in a long time. But yeah, I've interviewed him and stuff before, and he's been nice fine. And stuff. Yeah. Like, I don't begrudge the guy for anything, for anything, whatever. But yeah, just I don't like his character or the storyline.
Exactly, and it's easy to fix. It's like you don't need to make 200 videos. You just change the channel and it's solved for us both.
And there's enough wrestling. Yeah, there's enough
it's
wrestling.
Like you said. Yeah, it's like, well, sure, there's no Raw main event for me tonight, but you also, there have been other things on Raw I've seen that are good. The Damian Priest Finn Balor street fight, that was awesome. I did see clips of that. I love that. I love those two guys. Priest's on SmackDown now.
Yeah,
they moved him. Him and Cody Rhodes, that could be good if they turned him bad again.
True. Yeah, Damian Priest, I feel like is going to get a big.
I love Damian Priest.
Sustained kind of run for a bit because he's kind of due for one. Honestly, I think we talked about this before. Where he hasn't. They haven't really kind of let him win the big match necessarily, and he was sort of. He's too good to be, I guess, still in that in the spot he's in. Not that he's in a terrible spot or anything, but there's just a lot more potential there. I think.
Yeah,
there's a lot more they can do with him going forward.
I think they realized it too because the Judgment Day thing they've done. And you can't beat Finn Balor anymore. You're completely going to kill him off. He's lost several big matches to Priest in a row. He could probably use a big win coming up sometime soon here. But yeah, I think that's a good move and one to watch. And if not, Nakamura's going to need someone for the Intercontinental Championship if they don't go back to LA Knight, which I think, like you said, LA Knight to me is ready for bigger things. I'd like to see him bump up. I just like him so much. And that's a case where maybe it's not the in-ring stuff. I just love listening to him talk. There's something about, he's so charismatic. That's one guy I love hearing with. That's another guy you could mic up and I'd probably really enjoy it.
Yeah, charisma takes you, I think charisma takes you further than anything in ring even does.
Oh yeah.
If you got a guy that's ultra entertaining, their matches can just be kind of okay or whatever. They don't have to be the most spectacular in ring, 5 stars, however many stars.
No,
he gives out these days. But yeah,
LA Knight does enough.
Yeah,
he does enough. There's nothing wrong with what I'm a huge fan. And then I'll tell you who's great. That's in the mid card. Seamus. Man, has Seamus had a bad match? And I can't think of one in a long time.
No.
And you would have told me that a decade ago, I'd have looked at you funny because I used to dread. That was another guy. I'd be like, oh.
Yeah.
And he would be a world champion. I'd be like, oh, no.
I remember being, I remember.
Now I'm like, yeah,
kind of sick of it, whatever. But yeah, he's a guy that everybody thought he was about ready to retire. You know what I mean? And like he's had these last couple of years, just some absolutely killer matches. And I got to think they're going to have him win the Intercontinental belt because it's the last one he needs before at some point, even if it's just a quick, you know what I mean, and they turn it, fairly quick. But one other guy that we didn't mention yet, and his wife, who's also Chelsea Green, is amazing.
Oh, she's fantastic.
I love Chelsea Green. I would love to see her win the Rumble.
Now it might be her or Toni Storm for most entertaining. That thing with the dumpster this year, I did watch those shows. That was some of the funniest stuff where everyone was like holding their nose when she walked by for like 3 weeks.
She's so good.
She got thrown into Michael Cole's lap and he started acting like he was throwing up. He's like, oh, get off. Oh, the smell. It was just great.
She's been great. So yeah, I would love to see, it'd be great to have her win the Rumble. I don't think any fans are going to would be too upset. I don't know if they're going to do that, but she's been doing great. And then her husband Matt Cardona now.
He could be in the Rumble.
He could very well be in the Rumble.
How is he not signed? That drives me nuts.
Yeah, I don't know why he's not signed yet either. Like, and he went back to AEW and had that match against
I was
Edge,
hoping
right?
he'd
or Cope or whatever.
Yeah, he did that, and then he did Ring of Honor with Jericho. I was hoping he'd win that, and he didn't.
Yeah, so I mean, you have him kind of there, whatever, and then, but yeah, now that he's showed up at TNA, so Impact, whatever, and that with that partnership, I gotta figure he's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, to me, that's always been a big money match for Cody because those guys were such good friends in real life. No one has seen Cardona in a long time in WWE. New name, new gear, turn him in a midst of a tag match when Cody really needs him. I think you could get. I think Cardona's underrated in so many ways. If you've seen him other places, he can obviously talk. There's going to be no problems.
Yeah, I hope Cardona shows up at the Royal Rumble. I gotta think he is now with that connection, and then hopefully he gets signed. You know what I mean? Because he's proven himself over and over again on the indies.
Plus, outside the ring, that dude. I know you've I loved your interview with him. That guy just seems like a fantastic all around guy. That's like a guy you want to root for.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. So yeah, here's hoping he gets that sort of long awaited contract that he very, very, rightly deserves. I mean, he's got to be the biggest quote unquote independent wrestler on the planet right now. Like, I don't think there's anybody that's done as much with him in as many places over the course of the last however many years it's been since he was signed anywhere, specifically. But yeah, so hopefully, fingers crossed we get Matt Cardona at the Royal Rumble.
I would absolutely love to see that. That's a guy I think that'd be great. And there's, like you said, we haven't even talked about TNA with that relationship. I think part of that is when they fired Scott D'Amore for whatever reason. I don't think they're TV executives from Access. I don't think they know how to run a wrestling company. So they're like, someone do some stuff here. But it's worked out really well. Someone like Jordan Grace and she's fantastic. She's going to be so unique when she gets on WWE's main roster. She's going to tear through there. She'll be a top star for a long time, I think. And then, there's some other people there that are going to be heading up shortly, I think, that are... Moose is a guy that's probably been ready for a big company for a long time. Former NFL player, really good talker, really good charisma. There's stuff you can do with Moose. Joe Hendry out of nowhere. Joe Hendry makes me laugh. I was going to Ring of Honor shows pre-pandemic. I think he was over here in it might have been November of 2019. I saw him. He was doing singing and commentary. I think Colt Cabana, as a joke, had him doing singing commentary in the first match or something. It wasn't even wrestling, but I always get a chuckle. I'm like, oh, that's great, because I thought he was entertaining even then, that he's kind of risen to this huge, star that's really made a name for himself.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to see him in the Rumble this weekend too. Another guy that you said out of nowhere, and it made me think Randy Orton. Where's Randy Orton been? He's been hurt, right? Or was he injured? Or does Randy Orton make a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, or does he show up at the end of I know that Kevin Owens... They could either go a couple ways. True. He stays a baby face. I know it was Kevin Owens that put him out with the pile driver.
Yeah.
Or you could have him turn on Cody. That's probably a big WrestleMania match. Former stablemates, a lot of built-in story between those two. That would certainly be an intriguing match if they want to go that direction.
Yeah, you got to figure if Randy Orton's healthy, he's going to be in the. He's going to figure somehow into this in this weekend, because again, like I said, we haven't seen him since he took the pile driver and has been off. Which kudos to WWE for making the pile driver matter again.
Sure.
And then, but it's kind of crazy that at the same time you flip over to AEW and they're doing it on the steps outside. They bounce back up time. It's like, oh, come on, man. We got to get some consistency, some just general rules.
Hasn't been Penna throwing around Canadian destroyers on Raw though, and guys are which I mean, again. Penna's great. I have always liked him, and it's great to see him presented as a top singles guy. People forget he was a TNA Impact World Champion at one point on his own. I mean, he had that big feud with, well, he was called Eli Drake, but it was LA Knight. Those were the two guys at the time they had at the top.
Right.
And they kind of forget he's more than capable of wrestling on his own. And that's why it's not bad that these guys switch companies. Some companies will only look at a guy and see, well, tag team wrestler. Or whereas WWE will look at Penta and think he can do more. And he certainly has the ability to.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I'm sure he's going to be in the Rumble as well. I mean, especially given the sort of the debut and the last couple matches and all the sort of pomp and circumstance they've done, kind of surrounding all that too. So yeah, he's for sure going to be one of the guys in there. But no, well, all right, Cliff, I think we'll wrap it up. I think we covered just about everything. Yeah,
there's not too. I mean, there's other stuff. I guess there's New Japan. They've kind of been hit hard. It sounds like. A guy to watch, though, might be the former Baron Corbin. I think he's going by the name Bishop Dyer now, he announced. I think he might end up in New Japan. And if I make a bold prediction, I think in 3 or 4 years, he might be back in the upper card on either WWE or AEW.
He's a guy that, with WWE, they got in a rut.
He had some terrible gimmicks. Terrible.
He got strapped with a lot of gimmicks, and I don't think they ever really kind of knew what to do with him. And so he just kind of got stuck in the same sort of loop. And so it's one of those cases where, have him go away or wrestle somewhere else for a couple years, come back with a new, fresh kind of outlook, new whatever. And I wouldn't be surprised at all, like you said, if in a couple years he's back in WWE toward the upper part of the card, making some serious waves.
The reason you think that, good athlete, former Golden Gloves boxer, he made it to the NFL. He was on the Arizona Cardinals. To get to that level, you got to be doing multiple things right, So. Plus, at that size, I just think if he's in control of the presentation, he could be like the next Matt Cardona, especially if he vacates the Indies, which it sounds like is his plan. It doesn't seem like he wants to sign anywhere imminently. He wants to kind of build himself back up. But I don't know. I kind of see the plan with him where I think just the talent and then a consistent approach, and if he shows people the character that he wants, kind of like Cody Rhodes did, where Stardust, that's not, if he shows people, I think he'll be back soon. He's got all the tools, everything you need to do it at a really high level.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Cody Rhodes did it. Matt Cardona's did it and is kind of in the process. Like I said, I can't.
Drew McIntyre was another
guys
guy.
That have gone and come back and come back bigger and better. So yeah, I think it's going to be you don't like to see anybody get fired or let go or not renewed.
No. That's why it is important, like you're saying, to have these other companies. Like TNA was huge in helping, at least in America. Now Drew McIntyre did a lot of stuff in Europe when that scene was really healthy. But where I was seeing him a lot after he got let go was in Impact as Drew Galloway with it was Tongaloa, and it was actually Eli Drake. They put those three together as a group, LA Knight. And then LA Knight turned on him, and that's when he started to kind of break out. But it was, it's important to have a place, and that's where it's a little tricky now with WWE. You wonder if that's going to play into some guys like, ooh, I don't know if I want to get back under their thumb right away again,
One guy we'll close on this. So one guy that we haven't mentioned yet that has been just sort of floundering and they've done absolutely nothing with him despite how good he's been and some of the memorable matches, and that I really hope ends up in WWE or even NXT just to start with, is Ricky Starks. I want to see Ricky Starks somewhere. Like I feel like I don't know what it is with him and Tony that was a disconnect. I don't know if it's because he was friends with Punk. I don't know if it was because what happened there backstage or whatever with them that they pretty much just had nothing for him, despite how good he was and some of the. I mean, he had some of the most memorable matches in AEW history. Really, I mean the back and forth he had with MJF and the matches he had there. the matches, the promos were great. When he fought Punk, it was great. He's had a lot of really super. I mean, he's shown you what he's capable of. So I'm hoping Ricky Starks lands in WWE or NXT or something where he's able to, will wrestle full time again. Because it's like I said, it seems like with AEW, he's one of those guys that something went wrong and Tony's not just paying him not to be there. So
yeah, they certainly have they're starting to build quite the benched list of people that they have on that grouping, which, I mean, yeah, I understand the frustration for the talents, kind of like Ray Phoenix is kind of in that boat. You'll probably see the Lucha Brothers again at some point again. I guess the other side is that some of the independent wrestlers you see get hurt, they've got no net at all. I guess the one thing you can say is at least Tony Khan's still paying them something to not do anything. But I understand the frustration if you want to get out there and work and you're just kind of stuck.
Yeah, AEW does have a pretty big bench list. I mean, Ricky Starks, I think Britt Baker's on a bench now, too.
Boy, people are really going at... What did she do to someone?
I don't know, but yeah, she did something that, whatever, but yeah, you keep seeing stuff about Britt Baker.
Not only that, the personal attacks on her, Conan's not happy with just tanking his own guy's career. He goes out and starts gossip about Britt Baker. I'm like, what'd she do to you, man? I don't care about that. I don't want to know. Yeah. It's not my business. It's not that stuff there. I'm like, not my business. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for her for having to put up with that in particular.
But there's a handful of people that were just like, where did these people go and why aren't they? You know what I mean? Like,
Camille's on the bench list, apparently. She did something at election time that made her, I don't know what it was. That's what I heard.
Yeah, they had sort of messed up her booking from the start, kind of, and then I didn't understand anything there, and it's like, well, and Camille, I don't know if she's not one to sit there like if she thinks something's wrong, like she's vocal about it, and she did that with when she was in NWA and Billy Corgan, like, I'm out of here, you know what I mean? Like, she was very vocal about that. And there's actually she's on the one that Adventures in Carneyland show. She's on there, and you can there's her talking to him, and it's like, oh yeah, she's ready to go, and then they address her, she's leaving, she's gonna do a job on the way out, that sort of thing. But so yeah, I'm sure she said something, and now she's collecting a check on the bench too. So very odd. Like Tony, get some of these people off the bench, man.
Especially it'd free him up to get like a Matt Cardona or something. You're at least pursuing, and not that it precludes him from doing so. Like Miro, I mean, let the guy go back to WWE if he wants. I don't know. I mean, certain guys like Ricky Starks, once WWE gets their hands on him, he'll probably be a big deal. I don't think it's going to work for everyone, though. Certain guy, like kind of Andrade was kind of in the same spot in WWE. It seems like he's kind of settled in as a mid-card guy no matter where he's at.
Yeah. Yeah, and that might even be with him, too. It's not for his in-ring, whatever.
No, his in-ring's incredible.
It's probably just the language barrier, honestly, and the fact might have something to kind of do with it, where he can't really like promo-wise, he can't really.
It seems like on social media he's not shy about taking shots at creative, and I wonder if that hurts him. Because I know when he got first back to WWE, someone's like, "Why are you always with other luchadors? Why is it always like Latino on Latino violence?" And he said, "I asked creative the same question." I mean, he addressed it publicly. I was like, "Oh man, that might not be great."
Yeah, that could be why some of these people that they're really passionate and kind of speak up. Yeah, sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes that works out for you, and sometimes it's
Because I mean, I love his matches. Like he had one with Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown. I thought Carmelo Hayes, another guy. I love that guy. He's fantastic, especially in ring. Oh man.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. But all right, well, Cliff, I think we're gonna get out of here. But thank you everybody for tuning in once again. For Cliff Hickman, I'm BJ Lisko. This has been Pro Wrestling Quarterly. Tune in. We'll again toward WrestleMania time. If something super big happens, we might do an in between show, kind of between that. But thank you everybody for watching.
Oh, thank you. Yes, all you guys are great.